Questions tonight about the future of a facility for at-risk kids in Nye County.
And the Never Give Up Youth Healing Center in Amargosa Valley insists the license has not been revoked, even as officials say otherwise. Most recently, we told you about this former employee arrested for child abuse. Ashley Mendoza is accused of neglecting kids she was charged with taking care of, failing to feed them, and giving them unnecessary injections.
Before that, children living at Never Give Up rioted back in 2021. Authorities say 84 kids tried to escape and 2 succeeded before they were found the next morning. One staff member had to be flown to the hospital.
2 years before that, it was the facility's water supply raising red flags. Fox News spoke to a mother who said her son developed rashes at the facility. This came after investigators found arsenic in the water of a school sharing the campus.
And now, conflicting reports on the current status of the facility. Fox Eye's Mike Allen joins us now to explain what is going on. Mike?
John, I talked with representatives for both the facility and the health department in charge of overseeing it. They did not share the same story when it comes to the current status of the facility.
Never Give Up Youth Healing Center in Amargosa Valley has been the subject of intense scrutiny over the last few years.
I got livid. I got extremely mad. I started crying. I started shaking.
In 2019, Fox talked with Dee Whitty and her son, Riker, who lived at the facility. Much of what they told us tracks with the recent investigations into Never Give Up.
I feel that they had about as much treatment as you would get if you were outside of the facility. The only difference is they're always watching you. I don't think that they actually did any treatment during the day. It was like that once a week with the therapist, and that was it.
If I would have fought back, then I would end up getting in a lot of trouble, I guess, supposedly. So I just kind of sat there and just took it, I guess.
After a riot at the facility, water tainted with arsenic making kids sick, and an employee charged with 60 counts of child abuse just last week, Never Give Up's license to operate as a child health care facility has been revoked. But in a statement, the facility told me, quote, "Despite reports to the contrary, Never Give Up Youth Healing Center has not had our license revoked by the state of Nevada." I brought this up to the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services. I got this as part of the response. Quote, "The facility's license has been revoked, but there is an administrative appeals process available to the facility. Never Give Up tells me it's taking advantage of those appeals." But the question remains, has this mother's wish from 2019 been granted?
I hope the entire place gets shut down and their licenses are revoked.
The statement I received from Never Give Up also mentioned new ownership over the last year has overseen an overhaul of the leadership team, making what it calls substantial changes and improvements to the facility. Back to you, John.
Mike, thank you. And one bit of information that was the same between the two sources. As of last week, all children have been transferred to other facilities or discharged home.